Tyler Mason stared at the email with disbelief, his coffee going cold beside his laptop. The message was from a lawyer in Tennessee concerning two 5-year-old twin girls he'd never met, daughters of his ex-girlfriend from college, Vanessa Parker. According to the email, Vanessa had attempted to sell custody of the children to a wealthy couple for $50,000 before child services intervened. Now the state was reaching out to potential relatives, and a DNA test had confirmed Tyler was their biological father, though he'd never known they existed. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. How do you respond to news like that? Tyler whispered to his empty apartment. A 34-year-old software engineer who had built his life around independence, he now faced an impossible decision, one that would transform his carefully structured world forever. The January morning was unusually cold in Portland as Tyler Mason pulled into the parking garage beneath his office building. His mind wasn't on the client meeting scheduled for 9 o'clock, but rather on the email that had arrived 3 days ago. An email that had shattered the comfortable routine of his life. 13 years earlier, during his junior year at Oregon State University, Tyler had dated Vanessa Parker for just over 8 months. Their relationship had been intense, but ultimately unsustainable, with Vanessa's unpredictable mood swings and tendency toward impulsive decisions creating a roller coaster that the structured, methodical Tyler couldn't handle. They'd parted ways after graduation, with Vanessa heading east to pursue opportunities in Nashville's music scene, while Tyler stayed on the West Coast, building a career in software development. He hadn't heard from her since, not until this email from a Tennessee state lawyer named Margaret Holloway explaining the shocking situation. According to the documentation, Vanessa had given birth to twin girls 5 years ago, Emma and Lily Parker. Tyler's name wasn't on the birth certificates. The girls had been living with their mother in increasingly unstable conditions, with Vanessa's music career never materializing and a pattern of substance abuse taking its toll. The email contained photographs that had stolen Tyler's breath. 2 small girls with caramel-colored hair and hazel eyes that mirrored his own. The resemblance was undeniable. "Tyler, we're waiting in the conference room." His colleague Drew popped his head into Tyler's office, breaking his reverie. "Sorry, I'll be right there." Tyler minimized the email window and grabbed his tablet. For the next hour, he somehow managed to present the quarterly security update to their largest client, while his mind raced with calculations of a different sort. Calculating how his 1-bedroom apartment might accommodate 2 small children, how his savings might stretch to cover childcare, how his entire life would need reconfiguration. After the meeting, Tyler closed his office door and called the number in the email. "Margaret Holloway speaking," came the crisp, professional voice. "This is Tyler Mason. I received your email about Emma and Lily Parker." There was a pause. "Mr. Mason, thank you for calling. I wasn't sure you would. I'm still trying to process all this," Tyler admitted. "Could you explain exactly what happened? The email mentioned something about Vanessa trying to sell custody. That can't be legal." Margaret sighed audibly. "Unfortunately, that's precisely what happened. Miss Parker approached a wealthy couple in Nashville who were unable to have children of their own. From what we've pieced together, she offered to transfer custody of the twins in exchange for $50,000. The couple initially thought this was a legitimate private adoption situation, but when Ms. Parker insisted on cash payment with no legal documentation, they became suspicious and contacted authorities. Tyler's stomach turned. "And where are the girls now?" "They're in emergency foster care. It's a temporary placement with one of our experienced families, but not a permanent solution. Mr. Mason, I'll be direct. We've run background checks, verified your paternity, and examined your financial situation. You appear to be stable, employed, and without a criminal record. The state of Tennessee would consider you the preferred placement for the children, should you be willing." Tyler glanced around his sleek office with its minimalist furniture and precisely arranged technology. His life was the antithesis of child-friendly chaos. "What if I'm not equipped for this? I've never even met them." "That's understandable," Margaret replied, her tone softening slightly. "There are other options, including continuing foster care while seeking adoptive placement. However, I should inform you that separating siblings, especially twins, is something we try to avoid. Finding a placement willing to take both children can be challenging." The thought of the little girls, his daughters, being separated sent an unexpected pang through Tyler's chest. "Can I have some time to think about this?" "Of course. However, I should mention that Ms. Parker's situation has become complicated. She's currently facing charges related to the attempted sale of custody, as well as child endangerment due to conditions in the home when authorities arrived. She's likely looking at significant jail time." Tyler closed his eyes. "How soon would I need to decide? We have a hearing scheduled for next Friday. If you're interested in pursuing custody, we would need to know by Wednesday to prepare the necessary paperwork." 5 days. He had 5 days to decide whether to upend his entire existence. "One more question," Tyler said, his voice strained. "How are they? The girls, I mean." There was a pause on the line. "They're remarkably resilient, as children often are, physically healthy, though a bit underweight, developmentally on track according to their evaluations. They're quiet, too quiet for children their age, which suggests they've learned to make themselves invisible when adults are distressed. But there are no signs of direct physical abuse, which is something to be grateful for." After hanging up, Tyler cancelled his afternoon meetings, claiming a sudden illness. It wasn't entirely a lie. He felt physically sick with the weight of the decision before him. He drove home in a daze, barely registering the traffic or the light rain that had begun to fall. His apartment, normally a sanctuary of order and calm, suddenly seemed sterile and empty. Tyler wandered from room to room, seeing the space through. New eyes, the sharp corners of his glass coffee table, the complete absence of anything colorful or soft, the well-stocked bar cart that would need immediate removal. His spare bedroom was currently set up as a home office, with an expensive ergonomic chair and dual monitors for when he worked remotely. Where would 2 small girls sleep? What did 5-year-olds even need? Tyler sank onto his couch and pulled out his phone, hesitating only briefly before making the call. "Well, this is a surprise," his sister Megan's voice came through, warm and slightly breathless. "Hold on, Ty. Jackson, please take those muddy boots off before coming inside. Sorry, my son thinks the house is an extension of the backyard. What's up, Meg? I need your advice about something complicated." 30 minutes later, after explaining the situation, Tyler fell silent, waiting for his sister's reaction. "Holy shit, Ty. Megan rarely cursed. Twins, and Vanessa never told you." "Apparently not. That's beyond wrong. It's cruel. To you and to those poor girls." She paused. "So what are you thinking?" Tyler ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know what to think. I'm not father material, Meg. My idea of meal planning is deciding which night to order Thai versus pizza. I work 60-hour weeks. I've never even been around kids except yours, and that's just during the holidays." "Nobody is father material until they become one," Megan replied softly. "Ryan was terrified when I got pregnant with Jackson. He literally passed out in the delivery room, remember?" Tyler smiled despite himself. His brother-in-law, normally unflappable, had indeed fainted spectacularly during the birth of their first child. "But he's an amazing dad now," Megan continued, "because he shows up every day and tries. That's all parenting is, showing up and trying day after day." "These girls have been through trauma, Meg. They need more than someone who's just trying." "So, did you after Dad left?" Her words landed with weight. Mom was just trying too, but she showed up every day, and look how we turned out. Tyler swallowed hard. His father had abandoned their family when Tyler was 7 and Megan was 10. Their mother had worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat, leaving Megan to become a second parent to Tyler in many ways. That's different. Mom at least wanted kids to begin with. Did you ever think you might want children someday? Megan asked. Tyler hesitated. Eventually, maybe, in some vague future where I had a partner and a house with a yard and everything figured out first. Life rarely waits for us to have everything. Figured out, Ty. They talked for another hour, with Megan patiently answering Tyler's increasingly specific questions about childcare, school enrollment, pediatricians, and the mystifying world of children's clothing sizes. By the time they hung up, Tyler felt simultaneously more overwhelmed and more capable, a contradiction that seemed to perfectly encapsulate the situation. That night, he couldn't sleep. He found himself scrolling through the photos attached to the lawyer's email again and again. Emma and Lily, his daughters. Their expressions were solemn in the official documentation photos, no smiles for the camera. Emma, or was it Lily, the documentation didn't specify, had a small stuffed rabbit, clutched under one arm, its fabric worn thin with love. The other twin had her hair pulled back in a slightly lopsided ponytail, as though she or her sister had attempted the styling themselves. Tyler touched the screen, tracing the outline of their small faces. They had his eyes, his mother's chin, strangers who shared his blood. The next morning, Tyler called his boss, Rachel, and requested an emergency personal leave of absence. To his surprise, she was immediately supportive. "Take whatever time you need," she said, after he explained the situation. "We can redistribute your projects temporarily. Family comes first, Tyler. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story." Family. The word echoed in his mind as he booked a flight to Nashville for the following day. The flight was turbulent, matching Tyler's churning thoughts. He'd packed hastily, realizing halfway to the airport that he had no idea how long he would be staying. He'd thrown random combinations of clothing into his suitcase, along with his laptop and toiletries, operating on autopilot, while his mind raced ahead to Tennessee. Margaret Holloway met him at a nondescript government building in downtown Nashville, her handshake firm and her eyes appraising. "You look like you haven't slept," she observed as she led him through security checkpoints. "Is it that obvious?" Tyler attempted a smile. "It's to be expected. This isn't a situation many people find themselves in." She stopped outside a door, labeled Conference Room 3. "Before we go in, I should prepare you. The girl's caseworker and current foster mother are inside. They'll have questions for you, which is standard procedure. Try to be honest, rather than saying what you think they want to hear." Tyler nodded, his throat suddenly dry. Will the girls be there?" "Not yet. We thought it best to have adults speak first. If today's meeting goes well, we can arrange a supervised introduction tomorrow." The meeting lasted 3 grueling hours. Tyler answered countless questions about his life, his work, his support system, his views on parenting and discipline. He provided contact information for references, his sister, his boss, former colleagues. He signed forms authorizing background checks and home studies, though these would need to be coordinated with Oregon authorities if he proceeded. Through it all, the foster mother, a warm, no-nonsense woman named Beverly Reynolds, watched him carefully, occasionally asking pointed, follow-up questions. "What makes you think you can handle twins when you've never parented before?" she asked bluntly during a pause in the formal questioning. Tyler considered deflecting but remembered Margaret's advice about honesty. "I don't know that I can," he admitted, "but I do know they deserve someone who will try their absolute hardest, and that's what I'm prepared to do." I have resources, stability, and a flexible job that would allow me to prioritize their needs. But more importantly, I understand what it means to have a parent walk away. I won't do that to them, even though I'm terrified of failing." Beverly's expression softened slightly. Fear of failure is a good starting point for a parent. It's the ones who think they know everything who worry me. By the end of the meeting, Tyler's head was spinning with information about interstate compact procedures, temporary guardianship versus permanent custody, and the myriad requirements he would need to meet. But through the bureaucratic haze, one question kept surfacing. When would he meet the twins? "Tomorrow," Margaret confirmed as the meeting concluded. 9 a.m. at the foster home. We'll keep it casual, perhaps an hour at most for this first meeting. The girls know that their biological father is coming to meet them, but we've been careful not to build expectations in either direction. That night in his hotel room, Tyler could barely focus on the takeout dinner he'd ordered. He found himself Googling how to talk to 5-year-old girls and what do twins like, while simultaneously browsing apartment listings in Portland with 2 bedrooms. His mind kept leaping ahead, imagining first days of school and birthday parties, while simultaneously reminding himself that he hadn't even met them yet, that they might reject him outright, that he might fail spectacularly at this most important task. Morning arrived after a fitful night's sleep. Tyler dressed carefully in jeans and a blue button-down shirt that Megan had once told him brought out his eyes. He stopped at a toy store that had just opened, purchasing 2 identical stuffed elephants on impulse, before realizing that identical gifts for twins might be exactly the wrong approach. Too late to reconsider, he had them wrapped separately and headed to the address Beverly had provided. The foster home was in a quiet suburban neighborhood, a modest ranch-style house with a fenced yard and a basketball hoop in the driveway. Tyler sat in his rental car for several minutes, gripping the steering wheel and trying to calm his racing heart. "You can do this," he whispered to himself, a mantra from his college days when anxiety before exams would threaten to overwhelm him. One step at a time, Beverly answered the door, greeting him with a nod that was equal parts encouragement and assessment. "They're in the playroom," she said quietly. "They've been up since 5, asking every 20 minutes when you would arrive." Tyler followed her through the house, the wrapped elephants clutched awkwardly in his hands. He could hear soft voices from up ahead, then a burst of identical high-pitched laughter that made his heart stutter. Beverly paused at the entrance to a sunny room filled with toys and books. "Girls," she called gently, "your visitor is here." 2 small figures looked up simultaneously from where they sat on a colorful rug, surrounded by building blocks. Tyler felt the air leave his lungs as he found himself face to face with his daughters for the first time. The twins stared at Tyler with identical expressions of cautious curiosity. One wore a purple t-shirt with stars across the front, her hair pulled into 2 uneven pigtails, while the other was dressed in a green sweater, her hair hanging loose around her shoulders. Both had the same hazel eyes, his eyes studying him, with an intensity that made him feel transparent. "Hello," Tyler said, his voice coming out softer than intended. "I'm Tyler." The girl in purple edged slightly forward, unconsciously positioning herself in front of her sister. "I'm Emma," she said firmly, then pointed behind her. "That's Lily. She doesn't talk as much as me." "It's nice to meet you both," Tyler replied, careful to make eye contact with each of them. "I brought you something, if that's okay." He held out the wrapped gifts, suddenly worried they might seem like a bribe. Beverly gave a slight nod of encouragement from the doorway. Emma approached, cautiously, accepting both packages and immediately handing one to Lily. The twins sat cross-legged on the rug, methodically unwrapping the presents with the careful precision of children who had learned not to waste anything. When the elephants emerged, Emma broke into a smile that transformed her serious face. "Look, Lily. They're twins too," she exclaimed. Lily hugged her elephant to her chest, a smaller but equally genuine smile appearing. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're welcome," Tyler said, fighting the lump in his throat. "Do they have names?" Emma considered her elephant thoughtfully. "Mine is Ellie," she declared after a moment. Lily simply stroked her elephant's trunk, not offering a name, but clearly pleased with the gift. Beverly gestured to a child-sized table in the corner. "Why don't you all sit down? The girls just had breakfast, but I made coffee if you'd like some, Mr. Mason." Tyler nodded gratefully and took a seat at the tiny table, feeling oversized and awkward as he folded his long legs underneath. Emma dragged her chair closer, still clutching Ellie the elephant, while Lily maintained a careful distance. "Miss Beverly says you're our real dad," Emma stated bluntly, her eyes narrowed with assessment. Tyler swallowed hard. "Yes, that's true. I just found out about you both a few days ago." "Why didn't you know about us before?" The question held no accusation, just genuine confusion. Tyler glanced at Beverly, who gave him a subtle nod, honesty but age-appropriate. "Your mom and I knew each other a long time ago before you were born. We lost touch. I didn't know she was going to have you." Emma digested this information. "Mom said our dad was an astronaut who died in space." Tyler nearly choked on his coffee. "I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm just a computer engineer. I make software, programs that help computers work." "What's a computer engineer do?" Emma pressed, leaning forward. For the next 15 minutes, Tyler found himself explaining coding in terms a 5-year-old might understand, comparing it to giving instructions to build with their blocks. Emma peppered him with questions, while Lily listened silently, occasionally whispering something to her elephant. "Do you have other kids?" Emma asked suddenly. "No, I don't." "Do you have a wife?" "No, I live by myself in Portland. That's in Oregon, on the other side of the country." Emma's brow furrowed. "Is that where we're going to live, with you?" Tyler's heart raced. "I don't know yet. That's something the grown-ups need to figure out. What's important is that you're safe and taken care of." "We're safe here," Lily spoke suddenly, her voice soft but clear. "Miss Beverly doesn't yell, and there's always breakfast." The simple statement hit Tyler like a physical blow. He glanced at Beverly, whose expression remained carefully neutral, despite the implication of what life with Vanessa might have been like. "That's good," Tyler managed. "Everyone deserves breakfast, and no yelling." The conversation drifted to safer topics, their favorite colors, purple for Emma, green for Lily, their favorite foods, mac and cheese for both, though Emma insisted hers needed extra cheese while Lily preferred it plain, and whether they liked dogs. They did very much, though they'd never had one. As the hour drew to a close, Tyler felt simultaneously drained and energized. The twins were bright, perceptive, and resilient in ways that amazed him. They were also clearly accustomed to disappointment and instability, their wariness evident in small ways. How they checked Beverly's expression before answering certain questions, how they never asked for anything beyond what was offered. "I need to go now," Tyler said gently, as Beverly signaled from the doorway. "But I'd like to come back tomorrow, if that's okay with you." Emma nodded decisively. "You can see Ellie again too." She paused, then asked with forced casualness, "Will you bring more presents?" "Emma," Beverly cautioned softly. "It's okay," Tyler assured her. "No presents tomorrow, Emma, but maybe we could do something together instead. A game or an activity." Emma considered this compromise. "Can we go to the park, the one with the big slide?" Tyler looked to Beverly, who nodded. "The community park is just down the street. I could supervise a play date there." "Then it's a plan," Tyler said, standing up. "Thank you both for meeting with me today." As he turned to leave, a small hand slipped into his. Lily had approached silently and now stood beside him, her elephant tucked under one arm while her free hand held his. She didn't speak, just looked up at him with solemn eyes that seemed far older than 5. Tyler crouched down to her level. "I'll see you tomorrow, Lily. Take good care of your elephant." She nodded, then whispered something only he could hear. "His name is Tyler." Outside in his rental car, Tyler sat with his hands trembling on the steering wheel. The enormity of what he was considering crashed over him in waves. These weren't abstract concepts anymore. Children in need of a home. They were Emma and Lily, real girls with personalities and preferences, with wounds and resilience, with his eyes and his mother's chin. His phone buzzed with a text from Megan. "How did it go?" Tyler typed back, "They're incredible and terrifying and incredible." The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of meetings, interspersed with increasingly comfortable visits with the twins. The park outing was a success, with Emma demonstrating her fearlessness on the highest slide, while Lily preferred the swings, where Tyler pushed her higher until her giggles filled the air. On the 3rd day, Beverly allowed Tyler to bring lunch, a picnic in the backyard with the mac and cheese he'd carefully researched online, making sure to bring extra cheese packets for Emma. Between these bright spots were sobering conversations with social workers, lawyers and child development specialists. Tyler learned more about the conditions the girls had been living in: a dilapidated apartment with little food, irregular utilities, and a rotating cast of Vanessa's boyfriends, some kind and others frightening. He learned that Emma had developed a protective stance toward her quieter sister early, often distracting their mother's anger toward herself instead. He learned that Lily had stopped speaking entirely for several months last year, only gradually finding her voice again in the safety of foster care. On the 4th day, Margaret arranged a meeting at the family court. "We've expedited the process given the unusual circumstances," she explained. "The judge would like to meet you in person before making any decisions." The courthouse was imposing, all marble and echoing hallways. Tyler straightened his tie. He'd purchased a suit the day before, realizing his casual West Coast wardrobe wasn't appropriate for court appearances. Judge Eleanor Watkins was a stern-looking woman in her 60s with silver hair and penetrating blue eyes. She gestured for Tyler to sit in the chair across from her desk in her chambers. "Mr. Mason, I've reviewed your file thoroughly. Your background check is clean, your employment stable, and your references speak highly of your character and responsibility. What I need to understand is your motivation." She fixed him with an unwavering stare. "These children have been failed by one parent already. I need to be certain you're not acting out of momentary guilt or obligation." Tyler met her gaze steadily. "I won't pretend this isn't overwhelming, Your Honor. A week ago I didn't know I was a father. Now I'm considering uprooting my entire life, but after meeting Emma and Lily—" He paused, gathering his thoughts. "They deserve stability, safety, and love. I can provide that. Not perfectly. I'll make mistakes, but consistently. They'll never have to wonder if there will be breakfast or if raising your voice means raising a hand might follow. They won't have to be invisible to stay safe. And if it becomes too difficult, children are a lifetime commitment, Mr. Mason, not a rescue mission." "My father walked out when I was 7, Tyler said quietly. "I know exactly what that does to a child. I would never inflict that wound intentionally." Judge Watkins studied him for several long moments. "I understand you've spoken with their current foster mother about a transition plan." Tyler nodded. "Beverly has been amazing. She's offered to help with the transition however needed, including potentially flying to Portland with the girls, if that would make the move easier for them. I've already secured a 3-bedroom apartment in a good school district and taken family leave from work for the first month. You've arranged all this before the decision has been made?" One silver eyebrow arched. "I wanted to be prepared if the answer is yes. The apartment has a 6-month lease with option to extend. If the answer is no, Tyler took a deep breath. If the answer is no, I'll still want to maintain contact with the girls in whatever capacity is deemed appropriate. They should know they have a father who cares, even if circumstances don't allow me to be their primary caregiver. Something in the judge's expression softened marginally. I've been doing this for 27 years, Mr. Mason. I've seen well-intentioned people crumble under the weight of unexpected parenthood. I've also seen remarkable transformations when the right person steps up at the right time. She shuffled some papers on her desk. The interstate compact process typically takes weeks, sometimes months. However, given the circumstances and the thoroughness of our investigation, I'm prepared to grant temporary guardianship today, with the understanding that Oregon authorities will continue the home study process once you return. Tyler's breath caught. Today, unless you need more time. There was a challenge in her voice. No, Your Honor, I'm ready. 2 hours later, clutching a stack of legal documents, Tyler found himself back at Beverly's house, this time with a different purpose. The twins had been told that morning about the judge's decision and were waiting with their small suitcases. Packed, Beverly met him at the door, her usual business-like demeanor tinged with emotion. "They're excited but nervous," she warned. "This is a big change." In the living room, Emma and Lily sat side by side on the couch, identical elephants clutched in their arms. Emma's legs swung rhythmically, a physical manifestation of her nervous energy, while Lily sat perfectly still, her eyes wide. "Hi," Tyler said softly, taking a seat on the coffee table across from them. "Did Miss Beverly tell you what the judge said?" Emma nodded. "That we're going to live with you now, in Oregon." "That's right. We'll fly there tomorrow. I've found a nice apartment with a park nearby and good schools." "Will we have our own room?" Emma asked. "You'll each have your own room," Tyler confirmed, "but they're right next to each other, with a shared bathroom in between." This seemed to satisfy Emma, who had clearly been concerned about separation from her sister. Lily remained silent, her fingers nervously stroking her elephant's ears. Tyler addressed her directly. "Lily, I know this is scary. It's okay to be worried about going somewhere new." The little girl raised her eyes to his. "Will you have rules?" she asked quietly. The question broke something in Tyler's heart, the implication that rules had been arbitrary and ever-changing in their previous life. "Yes," he said gently. "We'll have rules that we all agree on. Rules like being kind to each other, telling the truth and doing our best. Rules that help us all feel safe and happy. And the rules won't suddenly change." Lily nodded solemnly, seemingly reassured by this promise of consistency. The next few hours were spent packing the few belongings the girls had accumulated during their time with Beverly: clothes, a small collection of books, and the precious elephants. Beverly had prepared a special dinner of their favorite foods, and the atmosphere gradually shifted from tense anticipation to cautious excitement as Tyler answered their questions about Portland, promising snow in winter and beaches in summer. That evening, as Beverly helped the girls with their bedtime routine one last time, Tyler stepped out onto the back porch, needing a moment to breathe. His phone rang, Megan checking in. "It's happening," he told her, his voice unsteady. "We fly out. Tomorrow morning. I'm bringing them home." "Oh, Ty." His sister's voice was thick with emotion. "I'm so proud of you. Mom would be too." Their mother had passed away 3 years earlier after a brief battle with cancer. Tyler felt her absence keenly now, wishing she could have known her granddaughters. "I'm terrified, Meg. What if I'm not what they need?" "You are exactly what they need," Megan replied firmly. "And when you get home, you'll have help. Ryan and I will be there. Your friends will step up. You're not doing this alone." After the call, Tyler remained on the porch, watching the Tennessee sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. Tomorrow, everything would change. His orderly life, his solitary routines, his quiet weekends, all transformed by the presence of two small girls who somehow carried his DNA and yet were complete mysteries to him. He wasn't naive enough to think it would be easy. There would be nightmares and meltdowns, school adjustments and developmental hurdles. Lily's selective mutism might return under stress. Emma's protectiveness might manifest as defiance. They would test him, push boundaries, perhaps even try to drive him away before he could abandon them like everyone else had. Yet despite the fear churning in his stomach, Tyler felt something else growing alongside it: resolve, determination, and a fierce protectiveness he'd never experienced before. These girls were his, not by choice or planning, but by a twist of fate and biology that had brought them into his life when they most needed someone to stand firm. "Mr. Tyler?" A small voice interrupted his thoughts. Lily stood in the doorway in her pajamas, clutching her elephant. "Miss Beverly says it's time for stories." "I'll be right there," Tyler promised, holding out his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Lily slipped her tiny fingers into his. Together, they walked back into the house, where Emma was already arranging books on the sofa, her administrative efficiency evident in how she'd organized them by size. "You have to do different voices for different characters," she informed Tyler seriously. "Miss Beverly always does." "I'll do my best," Tyler promised, settling between them as they each claimed a side, snuggling close as though they'd been doing this forever, instead of for the first time. As he opened the first book, something about a pigeon driving a bus, Tyler felt the weight of Lily's head against his arm and caught the scent of Emma's strawberry shampoo. Something shifted in his chest, a sensation of pieces falling into place that he hadn't known were misaligned. Tomorrow would bring challenges, the next week's even more so. But tonight, reading silly stories and feeling small bodies gradually relax against him in trust, Tyler Mason began to understand the blessing that had arrived in his life, disguised as an impossible choice. "Again," Emma demanded when he finished the first book, and Tyler obliged, this time with even more elaborate voices that drew giggles from both girls. By the third reading, Lily's eyes were drooping, and even Emma's boundless energy was waning. As Beverly appeared to shepherd them to bed, Tyler caught himself thinking not of all he was giving up, but of all he had nearly missed. These moments, these connections, these tiny humans who carried parts of him forward into the future. "Good night, girls," he said softly from the doorway of their temporary bedroom. "Tomorrow we go home." Emma yawned widely. "Good night, Dad," she mumbled, the words slipping out naturally, though she'd called him Mr. Tyler all week. Beside her, Lily was already asleep, one hand curled protectively around her elephant's trunk, her face peaceful in a way it rarely was while awake. Tyler stood watching them for a long moment, the simple title, Dad, echoing in his mind. It was a name he'd never expected to answer to, a role he'd never prepared for, yet somehow, in the space of a week, it had become the most important identity he would ever claim. Tomorrow, they would board a plane to Oregon, three strangers bound, by blood and circumstance, beginning the delicate work of becoming a family. It wouldn't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever was. But as Tyler finally turned away from the sleeping twins, he carried with him the certainty that some blessings would arrive unexpectedly, disguised as challenges too great to overcome until you find yourself on the other side, transformed by the journey. The flight from Nashville to Portland was a journey of firsts. First time on an airplane for the twins. First time Tyler had ever been responsible for anyone but himself during travel. First glimpse of what parenting would actually entail. The constant vigilance, the unexpected questions, the logistical Tetris of managing bathroom breaks and snack times and entertainment options. Emma claimed the window seat with the authority of a seasoned traveler, while Lily sat between her and Tyler, clutching her elephant as the plane taxied down the runway. When the engines roared and the aircraft surged forward, Lily's small hand shot out to grip Tyler's forearm, her fingernails leaving half-moon impressions in his skin. He covered her hand with his own. "It's okay," he reassured her. "This is the noisy part, but it doesn't last long. Soon we'll be up in the clouds." Beside her, Emma pressed her face to the window in fascination, utterly fearless. "We're going so fast," she exclaimed, as the ground blurred beneath them. When the plane lifted off, Lily squeezed her eyes shut tight, while Emma let out a whoop of delight that earned smiles from nearby passengers. The contrast between the twins' reactions, one embracing adventure, the other bracing against it, was something Tyler was beginning to recognize as a fundamental difference in their approaches to life. Once they reached cruising altitude, Tyler distributed the activity books and colored pencils he'd purchased at the airport gift shop. Emma immediately began a methodical approach to the puzzles, working from front to back in order, while Lily flipped through until she found pages with animals to color. "Are we almost there?" Emma asked, approximately 15 minutes into a 5-hour flight. Tyler suppressed a smile. "Not yet. We still have a long way to go. Would you like to watch a movie?" He gestured to the seatback screens in front of them. This sparked a negotiation about what to watch, with Emma advocating strongly for something with dragons, while Lily whispered her preference for anything with talking animals. Tyler navigated the first of what would surely be countless sibling compromises, eventually settling on a film that featured both dragons and talking animals, though neither twin seemed entirely satisfied with the solution. Another parenting lesson noted. Halfway through the flight, after a meal service that revealed both girls' distaste for airline food, "It tastes like the smell of Miss Beverly's cleaning stuff," Emma declared. Lily fell asleep against Tyler's arm. He sat perfectly still, afraid to disturb her rest, even as his muscles cramped from the awkward position. Emma, noticing his discomfort, whispered with surprising perceptiveness, "She always sleeps like that on people she trusts. Mum used to say it was annoying." Tyler met her gaze. "I don't find it annoying at all," he said truthfully. Emma studied him carefully, as though assessing the honesty of his statement. She had bad dreams at Miss Beverly's house sometimes, about Mom's friend Carl. He was mean. She delivered this information in the matter-of-fact tone children often use for horrifying revelations. "If either of you have bad dreams in our new home, you can always come find me," Tyler said, carefully controlling his reaction to this casual mention of Carl, while making a mental note to discuss it with the girl's therapist. Once they were settled, Emma nodded seriously before returning to her movie, apparently satisfied with his response. When they finally landed in Portland, both girls pressed against the window, taking in the evergreen landscape so different from Tennessee's rolling hills. "It's very green," Lily observed softly. "That's because it rains a lot here," Tyler explained as they taxied to the gate. "But today, we got lucky with sunshine." The airport terminal buzzed with activity as Tyler navigated their way to baggage claim, keeping a firm grip on both girls' hands. Emma strained against his hold, eager to explore the new environment, while Lily pressed close to his side, overwhelmed by the noise and movement of the crowd. A familiar voice called out as they approached the exit. "Tyler, over here!" Megan waved enthusiastically from near the doors, her husband Ryan beside her. Tyler felt a rush of gratitude at the sight of his sister, who had insisted on being part of the welcoming committee despite his protests that he could manage the homecoming alone. "Is that your sister?" Emma asked, having heard about Aunt Megan. During their brief time together, "Yes, that's her. And her husband, your Uncle Ryan." Megan approached cautiously, her smile warm but restrained as she crouched down to the twins' level. "Hello, Emma and Lily. I'm so happy to meet you. Your dad has told me wonderful things about you both." Tyler felt a jolt at hearing himself referred to as Dad so naturally, though Emma had used the word just once, and Lily not at all. The drive to the new apartment was filled with Megan's cheerful commentary about Portland landmarks and Ryan's occasional dry humor. Tyler sat in the back between the twins' car seats, answering Emma's rapid-fire questions, while Lily dozed again, the time zone change and excitement of the day catching up with her. When they pulled up to the apartment building, a modern mid-rise. In a family-friendly neighborhood, Ryan unloaded the luggage while Megan produced a set of keys. "We picked these up from the leasing office yesterday," she explained, handing them to Tyler. "And we stocked the refrigerator with basics. Oh, and set up the beds with new sheets. I hope purple and green were good choices." She winked at Tyler, referencing the girls' favorite colors he'd mentioned in their daily phone calls. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, a corner unit with good natural light and 3 bedrooms as promised. Tyler had rented it sight unseen, relying on his sister's judgment after she toured it on his behalf. Now, watching the twins' reactions as they entered, he silently thanked Megan for her impeccable taste. "This is where we live now?" Emma asked, taking in the open living area with its large windows and comfortable furniture, all newly purchased and delivered the day before. "Yes, this is our home," Tyler confirmed, setting down the carry-on bags. "Would you like to see your rooms?" Both girls nodded, following him down a short hallway. Tyler had agonized over how to decorate their spaces, wanting them to feel welcome, but also understanding they might want to personalize their own rooms. He'd settled on neutral furniture with colorful bedding and a few carefully chosen decorative items, leaving plenty of empty shelves and wall space for future additions. "This one is yours, Emma," he said, opening the first door to reveal a room with a twin bed adorned with a purple comforter. A small desk stood beneath the window, and a bookshelf held a modest selection of age-appropriate titles. "And right next door is yours, Lily," he continued, showing her a nearly identical room, but with green as the accent color. The connecting bathroom between them featured a step stool at the sink and bath toys arranged neatly on the edge of the tub. Emma immediately began exploring her room, opening drawers and testing the bounce of the mattress. Lily stood in her doorway, taking everything in without moving. "Is it okay?" Tyler asked her gently, crouching to her level. Lily nodded, then asked in a whisper, "Forever?" The question squeezed Tyler's heart. "Yes, forever. This is your home. Now for as long as you want it to be." Something shifted in Lily's expression, a small release of tension around her eyes. She stepped into the room and placed her elephant carefully in the center of the bed, a silent claiming of the space. The rest of the day passed in a blur of unpacking, pizza delivery, with extra cheese on half as requested, and establishing the beginnings of a bedtime routine. Tyler had researched children's sleep needs extensively in the days leading up to their arrival, learning about the importance of consistency and calming transitions before bed. After baths and stories, with both girls tucked into their new beds, Tyler found himself standing in the hallway between their rooms, listening to their soft breathing and marveling at how completely his life had transformed in just over a week. Megan and Ryan had left after dinner, with promises to return the next day, leaving Tyler truly alone with his daughters for the first time. The apartment was quieter than he'd ever experienced it, despite the presence of 2 additional people, or perhaps because of it. The silence weighted with new responsibility. He was about to head to his own room when a small voice called out, "Mr. Tyler!" It was Lily, standing in her doorway in green pajamas patterned with butterflies. "What is it, sweetheart?" The endearment slipped out naturally. "I forgot to say thank you for my room," she said solemnly. "It's the prettiest place I ever slept." "You're very welcome," Tyler replied, equally solemn. "But you don't have to call me Mr. Tyler anymore. You can call me whatever feels comfortable." Lily considered this, her forehead creasing in thought. "What does Emma call you?" "She called me Dad once, but mostly still says Tyler." Lily nodded, as though this confirmed something important. "Good night, Tyler, who is also our dad," she finally said, a compromise that brought an unexpected lump to his throat. "Good night, Lily, who is also my daughter," he replied, earning the gift of her small smile before she slipped back into her room. The first week in Portland established what Tyler would later call their new normal. Mornings began early, much earlier than his bachelor days, with Emma typically appearing in the kitchen by 6 a.m., ready for breakfast and conversation, while Lily would emerge later, sleepy-eyed and quiet, until she'd fully awakened. Tyler had taken a month's family leave from work, using the time to help the twins adjust and to navigate the labyrinth of paperwork involved in enrolling them in kindergarten, finding a pediatrician, and scheduling appointments with the child psychologist recommended by their Tennessee case. Worker Megan proved invaluable, offering advice without overstepping and occasionally taking the girls for aunt adventures to give Tyler a few hours to handle administrative tasks or simply catch his breath. Her sons, 9-year-old Jackson and 7-year-old Noah, became informal tour guides to Portland's kid-friendly attractions, showing their new cousins the best playground equipment and ice cream shops in the neighborhood. By the second week, certain patterns had emerged. Emma thrived on activity and information, constantly seeking new experiences and challenges. She approached kindergarten registration with the seriousness of a college applicant, asking detailed questions about the curriculum and extracurricular options that left the school administrator hiding a smile behind her hand. Lily, meanwhile, found comfort in routine and quiet moments. She would spend hours arranging and rearranging her small collection of toys, creating elaborate scenarios for her elephant, still named Tyler, and the few other stuffed animals that had joined their household. When overwhelmed, she would retreat to her room or seek out small enclosed spaces. Tyler once found her contentedly reading a picture book inside the cabinet beneath the kitchen sink, a discovery that both amused and concerned him. The challenges were exactly as he'd anticipated, and simultaneously nothing like he'd expected. Both girls experienced nightmares, Emma's manifesting as angry outbursts the following day, Lily's leaving her withdrawn and clingy. They tested boundaries constantly, sometimes deliberately misbehaving as though expecting punishment that never came. Their surprise at Tyler's consistent, gentle discipline almost more heartbreaking than the behavior itself. Food became an unexpected, a battleground. Having experienced scarcity, both girls exhibited concerning habits, Emma hoarding snacks beneath her bed for emergencies, Lily refusing to try new foods out of fear of wasting her one sure meal. Tyler worked with their therapist to establish healthy relationships with food, ensuring meals were regular and abundant, while gently discouraging the stockpiling that attracted ants to Emma's room in the third week. Then there were the questions about Vanessa, unavoidable and painful. Why had she tried to sell them? Didn't she love them anymore? Would she come take them back? Tyler navigated these conversations with careful honesty, never disparaging their mother while acknowledging that her choices had been harmful. He explained that she was in a place where she was getting help for her problems, and that the judge had decided the twins would live with him permanently. "But you didn't want us before," Emma pointed out during one such conversation, her perception razor-sharp. "I didn't know about you before," Tyler corrected gently. "If I had known, I would have wanted you from the very beginning." Promise? The vulnerability in her question belied her usually confident demeanor. "I promise," he said firmly. "Finding out about you and Lily was the best surprise of my life." The day before Tyler was due to return to work, albeit on a modified schedule that allowed him to drop off and pick up the girls from school, his boss, Rachel, requested a video call. Tyler braced himself for bad news. perhaps a rescinded accommodation, or unexpected travel requirement. Instead, Rachel offered an unexpected solution. "We've been discussing your situation, and I have a proposal," she said, after the usual pleasantries. "The company has been considering establishing a satellite office in Portland for some time. What would you think about heading it up? You'd build a small team locally, with quarterly trips to headquarters. It would mean more responsibility, but also more flexibility for your new family situation." Tyler was momentarily speechless. "That's incredibly generous," Rachel smiled. "It's not entirely altruistic. You're one of our most valuable team members, and this was already in our 5-year plan. We're just accelerating the timeline. Plus, the board was quite moved by your story. Several members have adopted children themselves." After the call, Tyler sat at his desk, processing the opportunity. A promotion, increased salary, and the ability to be more present for the twins. It seemed too good to be true. As if summoned by his thoughts, Emma appeared in the doorway of his home office. "Are you working?" she asked, clearly having been instructed not to interrupt him during work hours. "Just finished," Tyler assured her. "What's up?" Emma shifted from foot to foot. "Lily won't come out of the closet." "What?" "She's hiding in her closet and won't come out, even though I told her it's almost lunchtime. She has a Tyler elephant with her, but she won't talk to the real Tyler." Emma delivered this report with the gravity of a military commander. Tyler followed Emma to Lily's room, where the closet door was indeed closed. He knocked gently. "Lily, are you okay there?" No. Response came, but he could hear shuffling inside. "I'm going to open the door just a little bit, okay?" Still no answer, but no objection either. Tyler eased the door open to find Lily curled in the corner of the closet, her elephant clutched to her chest, tears streaming silently down her face. He sat down on the floor outside the closet. "Would you like to tell me what's wrong?" Lily shook her head. "Would you like me to guess?" A small nod. "Are you scared about something?" Another nod. "Is it about school, starting tomorrow?" Lily's eyes widened slightly. Tyler had guessed correctly. "It's okay to be nervous about new places and new people," he said gently. "I get nervous about new things too sometimes." "You do?" Lily's voice was barely audible. "Absolutely. Like right. Now I'm nervous about being a good dad, because I've never done it before. Every day I worry that I might make mistakes." Lily considered this revelation. "But you're a grown-up. Grown-ups get scared too. We just get better at handling it." Tyler held out his hand. "Would you like to know what I do when I'm scared?" After a moment's hesitation, Lily placed her small hand in his and allowed him to help her out of the closet. Tyler led both girls to the kitchen table, where he took out 3 sheets of paper and some colored pencils. "First, we name the scary thing," he instructed, writing new school on Lily's paper. "Then we draw or write all the things that make it scary." He helped Lily list her fears: getting lost, not knowing anyone, being away from Emma, who was assigned to a different kindergarten, plus having accidents, mean teachers. "Now the most important part," Tyler continued. "For each scary thing, we think of something that might help." Together they brainstormed solutions: a tour of the school before the first day, meeting her teacher in advance, a special token from home in her pocket, a code word she could use if she needed to see the school counselor. By the end of the exercise, Lily's tears had dried, and she was nodding with tentative confidence at their plan. Even Emma had gotten involved, creating her own list, despite insisting she wasn't scared of anything. That evening, after implementing the first steps of Operation School Confidence, as Emma had dubbed it, including a drive past the building, and a call to the kindergarten teacher arranged by Megan's connections in the school district, Tyler reflected on the day's events while folding a seemingly endless pile of tiny laundry. A month ago, his biggest concern had been a software release. Deadline: Today, it was ensuring two traumatized children felt secure enough to learn their ABCs. The contrast was striking, and yet he couldn't imagine returning to his previous life. Something fundamental had shifted in him. Priorities rearranged, perspective altered. The blessing that had arrived disguised as an impossible choice was slowly revealing itself, not only in the girl's gradual healing, but in his own unexpected growth. Tomorrow would bring new challenges: kindergarten drop-offs, work responsibilities, the continuing legal process of formalized adoption. But as Tyler placed stacks of small purple and green clothes in respective drawers, he found himself looking forward to it all with a sense of purpose he'd never known before. The first day of kindergarten arrived with the chaos Tyler had anticipated. Breakfast, spills, last-minute backpack checks, and a tearful moment when Lily couldn't find her elephant, which had somehow migrated to the bathroom cabinet during the night. Emma, by contrast, was dressed and ready 20 minutes early, her backpack meticulously packed, according to the supply list, standing by the door with the determined expression of a soldier preparing for deployment. "We should leave now, to avoid traffic jams," she announced, consulting the Mickey Mouse watch Tyler had given both girls to help with time management. "It's 7:15, sweetie. School doesn't start until 8:30, and it's only a 10-minute drive," Tyler explained while helping Lily tie her sneakers. Emma frowned. "But what if there's a car crash? Or a parade? Or aliens?" Tyler bit back a smile. "I promise we'll make it on time, even if aliens invade Portland this morning." They arrived at Bridgeview Elementary with plenty of time to spare, joining the stream of nervous kindergartners and camera-wielding parents in the school's colorful main hallway. As arranged during their pre-first day visit, Ms. Winters, Lily's teacher, was waiting at her classroom door to personally greet her newest student. "Good morning, Lily. I'm so happy to see you again," she said warmly, crouching down to the little girls' level. "Remember the special helper job we talked about yesterday? I could really use your assistance setting up the reading corner this morning." Tyler silently blessed the young teacher's thoughtfulness as Lily's death grip on his hand loosened slightly. They had explained the twins' background to the school administration, and both kindergarten teachers had been briefed on their unique needs. "I have to go now," Lily whispered, looking up at Tyler with wide eyes. "Yes, but I'll be back at exactly 3:15 to pick you up," he promised, tapping the face of her watch. "When the big hand is on the 3 and the little hand is on the 3, I'll be waiting right outside this door." Lily took a deep breath, squared her small shoulders, and nodded. With tremendous courage, she released Tyler's hand and took Miss Winters' offered one, allowing herself to be led into the classroom without looking back, though Tyler noticed she clutched her backpack, containing Elephant Tyler safely wrapped in her favorite blanket, tightly to her chest. Emma's drop-off at Mr. Bennett's classroom down the hall was considerably less fraught. She gave Tyler a quick hug, already distracted by the elaborate block center visible through the classroom door. "Bye! I'm gonna build the tallest tower," she declared confidently before marching inside, immediately introducing herself to a group of children gathered around the blocks. Tyler stood in the hallway for a moment, watching through the classroom windows as his daughters began this new chapter. Part of him wanted to stay, to hover protectively, and ensure they were truly okay. But he recognized that this separation was necessary, healthy even, for all of them. "First day?" A sympathetic voice broke into his thoughts. A woman with curly brown hair stood nearby, clutching a tissue. "That obvious, huh?" Tyler smiled ruefully. "The shell-shocked expression gives it away." She extended her hand. "I'm Diana Taylor. My son Zach is in Ms. Winters' class, his second year of kindergarten. He has some developmental delays, so he's repeating. Tyler Mason, my daughter Lily, is in Ms. Winters' class too. Her twin sister Emma is down the hall with Mr. Bennett. twins. That must be a handful. It's an adventure, Tyler said diplomatically, not wanting to delve into their complicated situation with a stranger, however friendly. Diana seemed to sense his reserve. Well, the first drop-off is always the hardest, on the parents at least. The kids are usually fine 5 minutes after we leave. The PTA has coffee in the library for first-day parents if you're interested. It helps to distract from the separation anxiety, our anxiety, not theirs. She smiled. Tyler checked his watch. He'd planned to head directly to his new office after drop-off, wanting to set up before his first video conference, but the thought of immediately diving into work felt jarring after the emotional morning. That sounds great, actually. Lead. The way. The impromptu coffee break turned out to be more valuable than Tyler could have anticipated. Not only did he learn crucial information about school procedures and local resources from seasoned parents, but he also made his first real connection within the school community. Diana, he discovered, was not only the PTA vice president, but also a family law attorney who specializes in adoption cases. If you're looking to formalize adoption, I'd be happy to give you some guidance, she offered, after he'd shared a carefully edited version of how the twins had come into his life. The interstate complexities can be challenging, but they're navigable with the right approach. They exchanged contact information, and Tyler left feeling both more informed and less alone in the parenting journey. His sister Megan was an invaluable support, but connecting with another parent currently navigating similar educational terrain offered a different kind of reassurance. The first week of the new school and work routine passed in a blur of adjustments. Tyler's modified work schedule allowed him to drop off the twins each morning and pick them up each afternoon, with an after-school program available for the days when meetings ran late. His new role, establishing the Portland satellite office, came with both greater autonomy and greater responsibility, requiring a delicate balancing act as he interviewed potential team members, while simultaneously ensuring client projects remained on track. At home, the twins were processing their new experiences in characteristically different ways. Emma arrived home each day, bursting with stories and observations, needing to verbally process every interaction and lesson. Lily, by contrast, would shut down if questioned directly about her day, but would gradually volunteer information while engaged in quiet activities like coloring or helping with dinner preparation. By Friday evening, both girls were exhausted from the stimulation of their first full week of school. Tyler decided to implement what he'd begun calling Decompression Fridays, a simple dinner, usually pizza, followed by a movie in their pajamas with popcorn and a slightly extended bedtime. As they settled onto the couch with The Secret Life of Pets playing, Lily surprised Tyler by crawling into his lap rather than maintaining her usual careful distance on the cushion beside him. "Comfy?" he asked softly as she arranged herself against his chest. She nodded without taking her eyes. Off the screen, her elephant wedged securely between them. On Tyler's other side, Emma was already deeply engaged with the movie, providing running commentary on the characters' decisions with the authority of a film critic. Halfway through the film, as the main characters faced a particularly tense moment, Emma suddenly turned to Tyler. "Do we have to go back to Mom when she gets out of jail?" The question blindsided him. The twins had mentioned Vanessa less frequently as the weeks passed, and he'd hoped the issue might remain dormant until they were more settled. A naive hope, he now realized. "No," he said firmly, pausing the movie. "The judge decided that you'll stay with me permanently. That was the agreement when we left Tennessee." "But what if Mum gets better and wants us back?" Emma pressed, her expression troubled. "Mrs. Holloway said Mum was sick and making bad choices." Tyler chose his words carefully, aware that both girls were watching him intently. "Your mom does have some problems that she needs help with. And yes, She made choices that weren't safe for you. The judge looked at all the information and decided that living with me was the best plan for your future. That decision is permanent." "But mums are supposed to want their kids," Emma insisted, the hurt beneath her practical exterior briefly visible. "Why didn't she want us enough to keep us?" Tyler gently pulled her closer. "Sometimes adults have problems that make it hard for them to be good parents, even when they do love their children. Your mom's problems weren't because of anything you did or didn't do. They were inside her, and they made it impossible for her to take care of you properly." "Like being sick in your brain instead of your body?" Lily asked unexpectedly. "That's a good way to think about it," Tyler nodded. "And just like some body illnesses can't be fixed quickly, some brain illnesses take a long time to get better, if they get better at all. Will we ever see her again?" Emma's voice was small. "I don't know," Tyler answered honestly. "That would depend on many things, including whether her doctors think it would be good for you. But no matter what happens with your mom in the future, this is your home now. You are my daughters, and that won't change." Both girls were quiet for a long moment, processing this information. "Can we finish the movie now?" Lily finally asked, effectively closing the conversation in her characteristically direct way. Tyler pressed play, but his mind remained on the exchange. He made a mental note to discuss it with Dr. Feldman, the child psychologist who was seeing the twins weekly at their next parent consultation. The weekend brought a welcome break from the new routine. Saturday morning, Tyler took the girls to a local farmer's market, where they marveled at the variety of produce and sampled their way through several fruit stands. Emma developed an immediate passion for raspberry honey after a beekeeper offered her a taste, while Lily became fascinated by a booth selling handcrafted wooden toys, standing transfixed before an elaborate train set for nearly 20 minutes. Sunday afternoon found them in Tyler's sister's backyard for a family barbecue. Megan had invited several neighbors with children around the twins' age, creating a casual opportunity for them to build connections outside of school. Tyler watched from the patio as Emma organized an elaborate game involving water balloons and hula hoops, her natural leadership qualities drawing other children into her orbit. Nearby, Lily and a quiet boy named Max were examining Megan's vegetable garden, heads bent together over a cluster of cherry tomatoes. "They're adjusting remarkably well," Ryan observed, handing Tyler a soda as he joined him at the grill, "especially considering everything they've been through." "Most days," Tyler agreed, "but there are moments when it hits me how much they're still processing. Lily had a meltdown yesterday because I cut her sandwich in triangles instead of squares. Turned out that's how Vanessa always did it on good days." Ryan nodded sympathetically. "Jackson still has triggers from when Katie left, and that was 4 years ago. Something will remind him of her, and suddenly he's that confused 3-year-old again, asking why his birth mom didn't want to be in our family anymore." Tyler appreciated his brother-in-law's perspective. Ryan had adopted Jackson after marrying Megan, who had been a single mother following her brief first marriage to Jackson's biological father. Noah had come along later, a biological child for both of them, creating a blended family that functioned seamlessly despite its complicated origins. "How did you handle the adoption conversation?" Tyler asked, lowering his voice to ensure they weren't overheard. "I've been researching, but there are so many approaches. We kept it age-appropriate but honest from the beginning," Ryan said. "Kids can handle more than we give them credit for, as long as the information is delivered with security and love. Jackson knows his story, that his bio-dad chose not to be involved, and that I chose to be his dad because I love him, not because I had to. We emphasize that families are created in many ways, and it's the commitment that matters, not the biology." Tyler nodded, watching as Emma executed a perfect cannonball into the shallow end of Megan's pool, surrounded by cheering new friends. "I think that's the approach I want to take. They know some of the basic facts already, but I want them to understand that family is something we're building together, not something that was forced on any of us. The following week brought new challenges. Emma's teacher requested a conference after she had an uncharacteristic outburst during class when another child took a toy she'd been playing with. Tyler arranged to meet with Mr. Bennett during his lunch break, concerned that Emma's usually controlled demeanor had cracked so publicly. "I want to emphasize that Emma isn't in trouble," Mr. Bennett clarified as they sat in the tiny chairs at the kindergarten table. "What I'm seeing is actually very common for children who've experienced instability. She's maintaining such tight control over her emotions most of the time that when something triggers her, the release is more explosive." Tyler nodded. "She's always been the protector, from what I understand, taking care of Lily, managing situations, to minimize conflict." Exactly. She's operating with the hypervigilance of someone much older. For most kindergartners, having a toy taken creates momentary distress that they express immediately and move past quickly. Emma likely suppresses those normal reactions until they become too intense to contain. Mr. Bennett leaned forward. "What she needs most is permission to be 5, to have normal 5-year-old reactions and emotions without feeling responsible for managing everyone else's feelings." The conversation gave Tyler much to consider. That evening, after the twins were in bed, he sat at his kitchen table with a legal pad, writing out observations about each girl's needs and adaptation. Emma needed space to be a child rather than a miniature adult. Lily needed constant reassurance that expressing preferences wouldn't lead to rejection. Both needed to know that their past didn't define their future. As the weeks turned into months, small changes accumulated into significant transformation. The apartment began to feel truly lived in, with children's artwork taped to the refrigerator, small shoes perpetually cluttering the entryway, and toys migrating mysteriously from room to room. Tyler found himself stepping on Lego pieces at 2 a.m., discovering apple cores in unlikely locations, and negotiating television privileges with the diplomatic skill of a United Nations ambassador. He also found himself laughing more than he had in years, marveling at the twins' unique perspectives on the world. Emma's elaborate theories about how traffic lights knew when to change colors, Lily's solemn conversations with her elephant, conducted in whispers she thought no one could hear, their shared delight in the first snow of the season, experienced through the wonder of children who had rarely seen winter's magic in Tennessee. The formal adoption process progressed steadily, with Diana Taylor providing invaluable guidance through the legal intricacies. By Thanksgiving, the paperwork was nearly complete, awaiting only the final court date in early December. As Tyler carved the turkey at Megan's house, surrounded by extended family, including his elderly aunt, who had flown in from Florida specifically to meet the twins, he found himself overwhelmed with gratitude for how thoroughly his life had been reconstructed in just a few months. "To family," Megan proposed a toast, raising her glass, "in all its beautiful, complicated forms." "To family," everyone echoed, with Emma adding loudly, "even the complicated parts." The adults laughed, but Tyler caught Lily's eye across the table and recognized the depth of understanding in her gaze. At just 5 years old, she comprehended the complexity of their situation with a wisdom that sometimes startled him. Later that night, as he tucked them into their beds, now personalized with additional stuffed animals, favorite books, and string, lights shaped like butterflies for Lily, and stars for Emma, Tyler reflected on the journey that had led them to this point. "Dad?" Emma called as he was about to turn out her light. She had fully embraced the title now, using it with the casual confidence of a child who had never questioned her place in his life. "Yes, sweetheart." Ms. Diana said, "When the adoption is finished, we get to pick if we want to change our last names to Mason. Can we do that?" Tyler sat on the edge of her bed. "If that's what you want, it's completely your choice." Emma nodded decisively. "I want to. I don't want to be a Parker anymore. Parkers get left behind. Oh, Emma. Tyler gathered her into his arms. You will never be left behind again, no matter what your last name is. I know, she said, with the absolute certainty of a child who had found her security. But I want people to know we're yours just by hearing our names. In the doorway, a small movement caught Tyler's attention. Lily stood there in her butterfly pajamas, an elephant clutched to her chest. Do you want to be a Mason too, Lily? Tyler asked gently. She nodded. Emma and Lily Mason, she said softly, testing the sound of it. The Mason twins. The Mason family, Emma corrected, patting the bed beside her in invitation to her sister. Lily climbed up, and Tyler found himself with a twin tucked under each arm, their warmth and trust the most precious gift he'd ever received. The journey was nowhere near complete. There would be more challenges ahead, more nightmares to soothe, more difficult questions to answer, more parenting skills to develop through trial and error. But in that moment, with his daughters secure in his embrace, Tyler recognized that the blessing in disguise had fully revealed itself. Family wasn't what he had expected or planned for. It was infinitely better, complicated and messy and exhausting and perfect in its imperfection. Created not by biology alone, but by choice and commitment and love that grew stronger with each passing day. December brought a flurry of activity to the Mason household. The court date for finalizing the adoption was set for December 15th, just 10 days before Christmas, creating a season doubly filled with anticipation. Tyler found himself juggling end-of-year work projects, holiday preparations, and the final legal details, while trying to maintain some semblance of normal routine for the twins. Dad, we need to practice, Emma announced one evening, marching into the kitchen where Tyler was preparing dinner. She carried a notebook covered in her careful, oversized handwriting. Practice what exactly? Tyler asked, setting down the spatula he'd been using to stir the pasta sauce. For Adoption Day. I made a list of all the things we need to know. She opened the notebook with ceremonial gravity. Number 1, what to wear. Number 2, what the judge will ask us. Number 3, how to say our new names. The list continued for several pages, detailing every conceivable aspect of the upcoming court appearance with the methodical thoroughness that was uniquely Emma. Tyler suppressed a smile, recognizing that her elaborate planning was her way of managing anxiety about the significant event. This is very comprehensive, he said seriously, giving her list the respect it deserved. Let's go through it together after dinner. Lily might want to help too. Lily's making something for the judge, Emma said matter-of-factly. She won't tell me what it is, but she's been working on it in her room with the door closed. Tyler raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Lily's creative projects were usually conducted in the open, often with Emma's unsolicited advice. Secret art was a new development. After dinner, as promised, they went through Emma's adoption preparation checklist. Tyler explained that the hearing would be informal, conducted in the judge's chambers rather than a courtroom, with just their family, Diana, as their attorney and the judge present. What if the judge says no? Lily asked quietly, from where she sat cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by colored pencils and construction paper, presumably working on her mysterious project. That won't happen, Tyler assured her. All the paperwork is in order. The home study is complete, and both the Oregon and Tennessee authorities have approved the adoption. The hearing is mostly a formality to make everything official. But what if? Lily persisted, her hazel eyes serious. Tyler recognized the deeper question beneath her words, the fear of another rejection, another disruption. If, for some absolutely unimaginable reason, this particular judge said no, then Diana would help us find another way. I promised you forever, and I meant it. Nothing will change that. Lily held his gaze for a long moment before nodding and returning to her artwork. Emma, meanwhile, had moved on to item number 7 on her list. Celebration planning. Diana says some families go out for a special lunch or dinner after adoption day, she reported. Can we do that? And can we invite Aunt Megan and Uncle Ryan and Jackson and Noah? Absolutely, Tyler agreed. We should celebrate this milestone properly. What's a milestone? Lily asked without looking up from her drawing. It's an important moment that marks a significant change or achievement, Tyler explained. Like your first day of kindergarten was a milestone, or when you learned to tie your shoes by yourself, or when you found out you were our dad, Emma added with the directness of a child stating simple fact rather than emotional revelation. Tyler felt his throat tighten. Yes, that was definitely a milestone. One of the most important things of my life. The days leading up to the court date passed in a blur of activity. Christmas shopping was conducted in strategic stealth operations while the twins were at school. Tyler had enlisted Megan's help in selecting appropriate gifts, mindful of creating meaningful holiday traditions in their first Christmas as a family. Diana had recommended they visit the courthouse beforehand to familiarize the girls with the environment, reducing potential anxiety on the actual day. This preliminary visit proved invaluable when Emma discovered the courthouse had a metal detector at the entrance. Like at the airport, she asked, eyes wide with concern. Will it beep if I have my lucky penny in my pocket? The security guard, on duty, a grandfatherly man named Frank, overheard and kindly explained the process, even allowing Emma to send her backpack through the scanner as a test run. By the time they left, both twins had honorary junior security badges and significantly reduced apprehension about the upcoming visit. The night before the adoption, Tyler tucked the girls into bed with extra stories and reassurances. After they were asleep, he sat at the kitchen table reviewing the journey that had brought them to this point. In just over 6 months, his life had transformed completely. The sleek, minimalist apartment was now adorned with children's artwork and school projects. His carefully organized schedule now revolved around drop-offs, pickups, and the seemingly endless parade of kindergarten events. His once pristine SUV contained booster seats, abandoned hair clips, and an emergency supply of goldfish crackers, and he wouldn't change any of it. The morning of December 15th dawned clear and cold, with a dusting of snow that made Portland look like a holiday postcard. Tyler had allowed the twins to choose their own outfits for the occasion within reasonable parameters. Emma had selected a purple dress with silver stars and black patent leather shoes that clicked importantly when she walked. Lily opted for a green velvet jumper over a white turtleneck paired with white tights and her favorite butterfly hair clips. We match, but we're different, Emma observed as they stood side by side in the hallway, dressed and ready an hour before. They needed to leave, a testament to the importance they placed on the day. Like always, Tyler smiled, adjusting Lily's hair clip that had tilted askew. Perfect. The courthouse was quieter than during their practice visit, with fewer people navigating the halls on this cold December morning. Frank, the security guard, recognized them immediately, greeting the twins by name and admiring their carefully chosen outfits. Diana met them outside the judge's chambers, elegant in a charcoal suit, but with a pair of reindeer earrings that immediately endeared her to the girls. Judge Michaels is one of my favorites, she told Tyler quietly, as the twins examined a holiday display in the hallway. She has a real gift for making these moments special for children. They were ushered into a warm office where Judge Patricia Michaels, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked black hair and kind eyes behind fashionable glasses, greeted them without the formality Tyler had expected. "Welcome, Mason family," she said, coming around her desk to shake hands with each of them, including the twins. "I'm Judge Patricia, and I'm very happy to meet you all." The proceeding itself was brief but meaningful. Judge Michaels asked Tyler a series of questions about his commitment to the twins, his understanding of the permanent nature of adoption, and his readiness to be their father in all legal and practical senses. She then turned to Emma and Lily. "I like to ask the children a few questions too, if that's okay with you," she said to Tyler, who nodded his agreement. "Emma and Lily, do you understand what adoption means?" she asked gently. Emma predictably took the lead. "It means that our dad will always be our dad forever and ever, and nobody can take us away, and we'll be Masons instead of Parkers." "That's exactly right," Judge Michaels smiled. "And is that what you want?" "Yes," Emma nodded firmly. "We practiced saying our new names. I'm Emma Grace Mason, and she's Lily Rose Mason." Tyler started slightly. They hadn't discussed middle names, and he hadn't known the twins even had them. It was yet another detail of their lives he was still discovering. "Those are beautiful names," the judge said. She turned to Lily, who had been quiet throughout the exchange. "Lily, do you have anything you'd like to say?" Lily reached into the small purse she'd insisted on carrying, removing a carefully folded piece of construction paper. She smoothed it out on the judge's desk and pushed it forward. "I made this," she said softly. Judge Michaels examined the drawing with appropriate solemnity. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands, one tall with brown hair, 2 small with ponytails. They stood in front of a square house with a triangular roof, smoke curling from the chimney. Above them, written in careful kindergarten letters, were the words, "The Mason Family." "This is wonderful, Lily," Judge Michaels said. "May I keep it?" Lily nodded, pleased. "I think this drawing tells me everything I need to know," the judge continued. "It shows me that you're already a family in your hearts, and today we're just making it official on paper." She picked up her pen and signed the adoption decree with a flourish. "By the power vested in me by the state of Oregon, I hereby declare that Emma Grace Parker and Lily Rose Parker are legally adopted by Tyler James Mason, with all the rights and privileges thereto, including the legal change of surname to Mason." She stamped the document and looked up with a warm smile. "Congratulations to all of you. This court recognizes and celebrates the Mason family." There was a moment of profound silence before Emma broke into spontaneous applause, quickly joined by the adults. Lily, in an uncharacteristic display of exuberance, threw her arms around Tyler's waist. "We're really Masons now," she asked, looking up at him. "Really and truly, legally and forever," Tyler confirmed, his voice rough with emotion. Judge Michaels produced a camera from her desk drawer. "I'd be happy to take a first family photo if you'd like." They gathered in front of the judge's bookcase, Tyler crouching between the twins with an arm around each. As Judge Michaels counted down from 3, Tyler felt Emma slip her hand into his and squeeze tightly. On his other side, Lily leaned her head against his shoulder. "Perfect," Judge Michaels declared, after taking several shots with Tyler's phone. "Now, I believe this calls for a celebration." She opened a drawer in her desk and withdrew 3 small boxes wrapped in silver paper. "I hope you don't mind, but I have a little tradition for adoption days." The twins looked to Tyler for permission before accepting the packages, carefully unwrapping them to reveal matching silver picture frames. Engraved along the bottom edge of each was the date and the words, "Forever Family Day, for your first official family photo," Judge Michaels explained. The celebratory lunch afterward at the twins' favorite restaurant was filled with laughter, congratulations, and a cake that Megan had secretly arranged, decorated with "Welcome to the family officially, Emma and Lily," in purple and green icing. Jackson and Noah presented their cousins with hand-drawn cards and matching friendship bracelets. They had made themselves. "Are you happy, Ty?" Megan asked quietly, as they watched the children comparing bracelets and giggling over some private joke. "Happy doesn't begin to cover it," Tyler replied honestly. "Grateful, amazed, terrified still sometimes, but mostly just complete in a way I never knew I was incomplete before." The days between the adoption and Christmas passed in a whirlwind of school holiday events, cookie baking and wrapping. Tyler had been intentional about creating meaningful traditions for their first Christmas as a legal family, balancing new ideas with approaches that acknowledged the twins' past. "Did you have Christmas trees before? With your mom?" he'd asked as they selected a pine at a local tree farm. The question prompted a detailed account of previous holidays, some happy, involving presents and special foods, when Vanessa was having a good time, others marked by absence when she was having a bad time and sleeping a lot. The twins' matter-of-fact description of these inconsistent celebrations strengthened Tyler's resolve to provide the stability they deserved. Christmas Eve found the three Masons in their living room, the tree twinkling with lights and homemade ornaments. Stockings hung on the bookcase in lieu of a fireplace. They had spent the afternoon making cookies for Santa, a tradition Emma approached with skeptical analysis. How does he visit every house in one night? And Lily embraced with complete faith, carefully arranging carrots for the reindeer alongside the cookies. After their traditional reading of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," with the twins in matching holiday pajamas Megan had given them, Tyler prepared to send them to bed with the promise that Santa only came when children were sleeping. "Wait," Emma said suddenly. "We need to give you your present first." "My present, but it's not Christmas morning yet." "This one's special," Emma insisted, exchanging a meaningful glance with Lily. "We worked on it at Aunt Megan's house. She helped us." Lily disappeared into her room, returning with a flat package wrapped in newspaper comics and an excessive amount of tape. "You have to open it now," she said, placing it in Tyler's hands. He carefully navigated the layers of tape to reveal a framed collage. At its center was the photo Judge Michaels had taken on Adoption Day, surrounded by carefully arranged mementos of their 6 months together. Ticket stubs from their first movie theater outing, a pressed flower from a hike in Forest Park, a small paper heart with "Dad" written in Lily's careful printing. The receipt from their first ice cream shop visit, Emma's first perfect spelling test. Around the border, written in alternating purple and green marker, were the words, "Some people are born into their families. We chose ours." Tyler stared at the gift, momentarily unable to speak. "Do you like it?" Emma asked, a rare note of uncertainty in her voice. "This is the most precious thing anyone has ever given me," Tyler managed, gathering both girls into a tight hug. "Thank you. I'll treasure it forever." Later, after the twins were finally asleep with visions of sugar plums, or more likely new, bikes and art supplies dancing in their heads, Tyler sat alone by the Christmas tree, reflecting on the extraordinary year drawing to a close. A little over 6 months ago, he had been a solitary software engineer with a meticulously ordered life and a carefully plotted future. One email had changed everything, presenting him with an impossible choice that, in retrospect, had never really been a choice at all. From the moment he'd seen those solemn little faces with his eyes looking back at him, some deeper part of him had known what the answer would be. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been tantrums and tears, midnight questions he couldn't answer, moments of doubt when he wondered if he was equipped for the magnitude of the task before him. There had been bureaucratic hurdles, interstate complications, and the continuing process of helping 2 traumatized children heal. But there had also been first smiles over breakfast, small hands slipping trustingly into his, the gradual relaxation of tiny shoulders that had carried too much tension for too long. There had been Emma's strategic planning and Lily's quiet observations, their different but equally meaningful ways of expressing affection. There had been a community forming around them. Megan and Ryan, Diana and her son, neighbors and classmates and teachers who had welcomed them without reservation. Tyler picked up the framed collage the twins had given him, tracing the words around the border with his finger. "Some people are born into their families. We chose ours." Choice. That was the heart of it, wasn't it? Vanessa had made choices that harmed the twins, but in doing so, had inadvertently created the opportunity for different choices. His choice to step into fatherhood unprepared but determined. The twins' choice to trust again, despite every reason not to. All of them choosing to become a family through love rather than obligation. Tomorrow morning would bring the chaos of Christmas presents and cinnamon rolls, followed by dinner at Megan's. With the extended family, New Year's would mark the beginning of their first full calendar year as the Mason family. There would be kindergarten graduation in the spring, perhaps a proper vacation in the summer, first grade in the fall. Normal milestones in a family life that had begun in the most abnormal of circumstances. Tyler carefully placed the twins' gift on the mantel, positioning it where it would catch the morning light. Then he methodically filled the stockings and arranged the presents that Santa would be credited with bringing, setting out the half-eaten cookies and carrots as evidence of a midnight visitor. As he turned out the lights, leaving only the tree, illuminated in the quiet apartment, Tyler realized that the blessing disguised as an impossible choice had fully revealed itself. Not in any single moment of legal declaration or ceremonial recognition, but in the accumulation of ordinary days strung together by love and commitment. In Emma's strategic planning and fierce protectiveness, gradually softening into the security of normal childhood. In Lily's quiet observations and cautious trust, slowly blossoming into confidence and self-expression. In his own transformation from a man who had built his life around independence to one who found his greatest fulfillment in the messy, complicated, beautiful dependence of family. The Mason family, bound not by circumstance or biology alone, but by choice and love, and the daily decision to show up for one another day after day. Building a future none of them could have imagined just 1 year ago. Spring brought new beginnings to the Mason household in more ways than one. As the cherry blossoms bloomed throughout Portland, the twins approached their 6th birthday, their first celebration as official Masons. Tyler had been planning for weeks, determined to make the occasion memorable without overwhelming the girls, who were still adjusting to the concept of celebrations centered around them. "Do you want separate parties or one together?" he asked over breakfast one Saturday morning in late March, 2 weeks before the big day. Emma and Lily exchanged one of their silent twin communications, a look that conveyed volumes between them. Before Emma spoke, "One party," she decided, "but with 2 cakes. Mine should be chocolate with purple frosting, and Lily wants strawberries with green frosting." Tyler nodded, making notes on his phone. "And what about guests? Friends from school? Family?" Another exchange of glances before Lily spoke up, her voice soft but certain. "Just our family, and Diana and Zach." Tyler was surprised. Emma had made several friends in her kindergarten class and was generally sociable, while Lily had formed a tight bond with her classmate Max from the garden encounter at Megan's barbecue months earlier. "Are you sure? You're welcome to invite your school friends too." Emma shrugged, concentrating on spreading peanut butter precisely to the edges of her toast. "Maybe next year. This year should be just our special people." Tyler recognized the significance of their choice. Despite 6 months of stability and 3 months as a legal family, the twins were still building their sense of security. Large gatherings with relative strangers might feel overwhelming rather than celebratory. "Just our special people," he agreed. "And what would you like to do for your party?" This launched an animated discussion about potential activities, with Emma advocating for an elaborate scavenger hunt and Lily suggesting a butterfly-themed craft project. Tyler listened, making mental notes and marveling, as he often did, at the unique personalities that had emerged more fully as the twins settled into their new life. Emma remained the organizer and protector, but her formerly rigid control had softened into natural leadership, her fierce independence tempered by growing trust in the stability around her. Lily's quiet watchfulness had gradually given way to gentle confidence, her voice growing stronger as she discovered her opinions were valued and her boundaries respected. Both had made academic progress that impressed their teachers. Emma excelled at mathematics and logical reasoning, approaching problems with methodical determination. Lily showed remarkable aptitude for language and storytelling, creating elaborate narratives for her drawings and crafts. Their different strengths complemented each other, with Emma often helping Lily with math homework, while Lily patiently coached Emma through reading assignments. "Dad, are you listening?" Emma's voice broke into Tyler's reflections. "I said we need invitations, even though it's a small party. It's more official that way." "Absolutely," Tyler agreed. "We can design them together this afternoon." The twins' birthday celebration turned out exactly as they had envisioned. An intimate gathering with their closest people, featuring twin cakes and decorations in their signature purple and green. Diana and her son Zach brought elaborately wrapped gifts and a handmade card with a pop-up 6 that delighted both girls. Megan and Ryan arrived with Jackson and Noah in tow, bearing presents that had been selected with careful consideration of each twin's interests. After cake and presents, while the children were occupied with Emma's meticulously planned scavenger hunt in the apartment complex's communal garden, Diana pulled Tyler aside. "I've been meaning to talk to you about something," she said, her expression serious. "There's been a development in the Tennessee case." Tyler felt his stomach tighten. "Vanessa?" Diana nodded. "She's being released from the rehabilitation facility next month. Part of her plea agreement included completing a substance abuse program and parenting classes. According to my contact in Tennessee, she's been asking about the girls." Tyler took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. "She has no legal standing anymore. The adoption is final." "That's absolutely correct," Diana assured him. "Legally, you have nothing to worry about, but I thought you should know in case she attempts to make contact." Tyler glanced toward the garden, where Emma was dramatically counting paces from a large oak tree, while Lily and Max consulted a hand-drawn map. "Do you think she will?" "It's impossible to predict," Diana admitted. "Some birth parents find closure through the legal process and move on. Others feel compelled to maintain some connection, especially after completing rehabilitation programs that emphasize taking responsibility for past actions." "The girls barely mention her anymore," Tyler said quietly. "I don't want to disrupt the stability they've finally found. That's understandable. But it might be worth considering how you'll respond if she does reach out. Would you be open to some form of communication? Letters, perhaps, if it were properly supervised and deemed beneficial for the twins?" The question caught Tyler off guard. His instinct was immediate protection, shielding Emma and Lily from any potential disruption or disappointment. But he also recognized the complexity of the situation. The twins' relationship with their birth mother, however troubled, was part of their history and identity. "I honestly don't know," he admitted. "I'd need to consult with Dr. Feldman about what would be best for the girls psychologically." Diana nodded approvingly. "That's exactly the right approach. There's no rush to decide anything. I just wanted you to be prepared." The conversation lingered in Tyler's mind throughout the remainder of the birthday celebration and into the following weeks. He scheduled an additional consultation with Dr. Feldman, the twin psychologist, seeking guidance on how to handle any potential contact from Vanessa. "Children generally benefit from having information about their biological origins," Dr. Feldman explained during their meeting. "But the timing and nature of that information should be calibrated to their emotional readiness and sense of security." "And where do you think Emma and Lily are in that process?" Tyler asked. Dr. Feldman considered the question thoughtfully. "They've made remarkable progress. Emma's controlling behaviors have decreased significantly as her trust in your permanence has increased. Lily's selective mutism in unfamiliar situations has almost completely resolved. Both girls are forming appropriate attachments and developing healthy peer relationships. But Tyler sensed a qualification coming, but they're still processing trauma. Dr. Feldman continued. Their sense of security with you is growing stronger every day, but it's relatively new. Any contact with their birth mother would need to be carefully managed to avoid triggering abandonment fears or confusion about their permanent status in your family. Tyler nodded, absorbing the insight. So if Vanessa does reach out, I'd recommend transparency with age-appropriate information. Acknowledge her existence and her relationship to them, but reinforce that you are their father in all the ways that matter moving forward. If some form of contact seems appropriate down the road, it should be highly structured and supervised, with clear boundaries. The conversation provided Tyler with a framework for approaching the situation, should it arise. But as April turned to May with no word from Tennessee, the immediate concern receded, replaced by the everyday rhythms of family life and the approaching milestone of kindergarten graduation. Both twins were thriving academically and socially as the school year drew to a close. Emma had been selected to lead the Pledge of Allegiance at the graduation ceremony, a responsibility she took with characteristic seriousness, practicing daily in front of the bathroom mirror. Lily had been chosen to present a bouquet to the principal, a task that would have terrified her 6 months earlier, but now elicited only mild anxiety. What if I trip? She worried as Tyler helped her practice walking across the living room with a bundle of flowers. Then you'll get up and keep going, Tyler assured her. Everyone trips sometimes. Even grown-ups, especially grown-ups. We just pretend we meant to do it. This earned him one of Lily's increasingly frequent giggles, a sound that never failed to warm his heart. The kindergarten graduation ceremony itself was a triumph of organized chaos, with 60 excited 5- and 6-year-olds in miniature caps and gowns attempting to follow directions with varying degrees of success. Emma recited the pledge flawlessly, standing straight and proud at the microphone. Lily delivered her bouquet without incident, though she whispered the memorized thank you so quietly that only those in the front row could hear. Tyler recorded every moment, his phone camera trained on his daughters as they received their kindergarten diplomas and posed for photos with their teachers. Megan had taken the day off work to attend, and she sat beside him in the audience, occasionally dabbing at suspiciously damp eyes. "I can't believe how far they've come," she whispered, as the twins joined their classmates for a somewhat disjointed rendition of "What a Wonderful World." "Neither can I," Tyler admitted. "Sometimes I still wake up surprised to find myself responsible for 2 small humans. You're doing an amazing job, Ty. Mum would be so proud." The mention of their mother brought a bittersweet pang. Charlotte Mason had passed away before meeting her granddaughters, but Tyler often found himself channeling her patient wisdom when facing parenting challenges. After the ceremony, as families mingled in the school gymnasium over punch and cookies, Mr. Bennett approached Tyler with an unexpected question. "Have you considered the advanced learning track for Emma next year? Her assessment scores qualify her for the program." Tyler was surprised. "I didn't realize testing had been done already. It's standard for all kindergartners in the spring," Mr. Bennett explained. Emma scored in the 98th percentile for mathematical reasoning and spatial awareness. The advanced learning track would provide additional challenges in those areas while maintaining her regular classroom placement for social development. Tyler glanced across the room, where Emma was organizing an impromptu game with several classmates, her natural leadership evident in how the other children looked to her for direction. "What about Lily?" he asked. "I'd be concerned about singling Emma out for advanced work while Lily isn't included." Mr. Bennett nodded. "It's a valid concern with twins. Lily's scores were also above average, particularly in verbal reasoning and creative expression, but not at the threshold for the advanced program. However, Ms. Winters has some suggestions for enrichment activities that would allow Lily to explore her strengths as well. Tyler promised to consider the recommendation and discuss it with both girls, mindful of the delicate balance between encouraging individual talents and maintaining the twins' close bond. The conversation prompted a wider reflection on the girls' distinct identities and how to nurture their individual development while honoring their connection as twins. It was a theme that would emerge repeatedly in the coming months as summer arrived, bringing new experiences and challenges. The Mason family's first summer together was filled with memorable firsts. Tyler had arranged his work schedule to take Fridays off, creating 3-day weekends for family adventures throughout the Pacific Northwest. They visited the Oregon coast, where the twins experienced the ocean for the first time, Lily approaching the waves with characteristic caution, while Emma charged fearlessly into the surf. They hiked in the Columbia River Gorge, discovering waterfalls and wildflowers. They spent a week at a lakeside cabin Megan had found through a colleague, where both girls learned to swim with the patient coaching of their cousins. Between adventures, there were lazy days at home, bike rides in the neighborhood park, library visits, and the elaborate pretend games that the twins invented with increasing creativity. Tyler found himself drafted into roles ranging from dragon to spaceship captain to patient in their makeshift hospital, occasionally catching glimpses of himself in the mirror with butterfly clips in his hair or a paper crown on his head, and marveling at how completely his identity had transformed. The advanced learning decision was resolved through family discussion, with Emma ultimately declining the opportunity in favor of remaining fully with her sister and friends, a choice that impressed Tyler with its emotional maturity. Winters, hearing of the decision, arranged with the first-grade teachers to provide both twins with differentiated projects that would challenge their respective strengths while keeping them in the same classroom community. It was in late July, as Tyler was planning a birthday surprise for Megan, that the anticipated contact from Tennessee finally came. Not from Vanessa directly, but from Margaret Holloway, the state lawyer who had first notified Tyler of the twins' existence. Ms. Parker has completed her rehabilitation program and the terms of her probation, Margaret explained over the phone. She's been sober for 10 months now and has stable housing and employment. She's requested permission to send letters to the girls. Tyler had prepared for this possibility, but the reality still sent a jolt of protective concern through him. "What's your assessment of her condition?" "Her recovery appears genuine," Margaret said carefully. Her counselors report consistent engagement with the program and significant insight into her previous behaviors. She's expressed deep remorse for her actions regarding the twins. And she understands that the adoption is final, that the girls are legally my daughters now. Yes, she's been very clear about that. She's not seeking to disrupt your family or reclaim parental rights. She simply wants the opportunity to apologize to the girls and perhaps establish some minimal level of contact so they know she's thinking of them. Tyler thought of Dr. Feldman's advice about transparency and age-appropriate information. "I'll need to discuss this with their therapist before making any decisions," he said. "In the meantime, would it be possible for Vanessa to send a letter to me first, so I can gauge her intentions and the appropriateness of her communication?" Margaret agreed to arrange this intermediate step, and a week later, an envelope with a Nashville postmark arrived at the Mason apartment. Tyler waited until the twins were in bed before opening it, with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. The letter inside was handwritten on simple lined paper, the penmanship careful and deliberate, as though each word had been considered thoroughly before being committed to the page. "Dear Tyler, I imagine this letter comes as an unwelcome reminder of a difficult chapter in your life, and for that, I apologize. I've spent months in therapy trying to understand my own actions and the harm I caused to Emma and Lily. There's no excuse for what I did, but perhaps some context might help you understand the person I was then and the person I'm working to become now. When I left Oregon after graduation, I was already struggling with undiagnosed bipolar disorder and self-medicating with alcohol. By the time I discovered I was pregnant, I was in no condition to make rational decisions. I convinced myself that keeping my pregnancy secret from everyone, including you, was somehow protecting the babies. After they were born, I cycled between periods of functioning and deep despair, with my substance use escalating to numb the overwhelming reality of raising twins alone while mentally unraveling. The incident that led to our separation was my absolute rock bottom. In a state of desperation and delusion, I convinced myself that Emma and Lily would be better off with a wealthy family who could provide what I couldn't. It was only after I was arrested and forced into treatment that I began to recognize the severity of my illness and the terrible choices it had led me to make. I want to be absolutely clear. I do not expect or deserve forgiveness. I do not seek to disrupt the family you've created or to confuse the girls about who their parent is. You are their father in every way that matters, and I am deeply grateful that they found security and love with you when I failed them so completely. What I'm hoping for, if you deem it appropriate, is the chance to let Emma and Lily know that what happened wasn't their fault, that they were not unwanted or unloved, but rather the innocent victims of an adult who was too sick to care for them properly. Perhaps someday, when they're older and asking questions about their past, this information might help them process their history without internalizing rejection. I understand completely if you decide that contact would be disruptive to their healing. Their well-being must come first. If you prefer that I maintain distance, I will respect that decision absolutely. But I wanted to offer this connection, however limited, in case it might someday be beneficial for them to know that their birth mother found help and is living a healthier life. If you're open to it, I would welcome the opportunity to send occasional cards or letters that you could share with them when and if the time seems right. Or perhaps just updates to you about my continued recovery, which you could keep until they're old enough to decide for themselves if they want this information. Thank you for giving Emma and Lily the stability and love they deserve. From what Margaret has told me, you've created a wonderful family, and that knowledge brings me more peace than I can express. Sincerely, Vanessa Parker Tyler read the letter twice, searching for red flags or manipulation. Instead, he found what appeared to be genuine remorse and a mature recognition of boundaries. He would share the letter with Dr. Feldman at their next appointment, seeking professional guidance before making any decisions. But his initial reaction surprised him, not the automatic rejection he might have expected, but a cautious recognition that someday Emma and Lily might benefit from knowing this part of their story. For now, though, their present and future remained his focus. Tomorrow would bring their weekly Friday adventure, a trip to the newly opened Children's Science Museum that Emma had been anticipating for weeks. This weekend, they would help Megan prepare for Jackson's birthday party. Next month, first grade would begin, bringing new teachers and challenges. Their family journey continued to unfold day by day, the blessing that had arrived disguised as an impossible choice, revealing new dimensions with each passing season. 5 years had passed since the email that had transformed Tyler Mason's life. The once tiny twins were now vibrant 10-year-olds, navigating 4th grade with their distinct personalities fully blossomed. Emma had grown into her natural leadership, captaining the elementary school math team and organizing neighborhood charity drives with impressive efficiency. Lily's initial shyness had evolved into a thoughtful sensitivity, her creative writing winning school contests, and her gentle way with animals, making her the neighborhood's most sought-after pet sitter. The Mason family had moved from their apartment, to a modest house with a backyard 2 years earlier, allowing room for the girls' expanding interests and the golden retriever puppy named Sunny that had joined their family last Christmas. Tyler had been promoted to regional director at his company, a position that allowed him to maintain the work-life balance that remained his priority. On this particular autumn afternoon, Tyler sat on the back porch swing watching Emma teach. Sunny to fetch, while Lily sketched the scene from her favorite spot beneath the maple tree. The peaceful domesticity of the moment struck him anew. How ordinary and yet extraordinary their family had become. "Dad!" Emma called, jogging over with Sunny bounding at her heels. "Can we talk about something important?" "Of course," Tyler replied, noting her serious expression. Emma settled beside him on the swing, while Lily, sensing a family discussion, closed her sketchbook and joined them. "It's about the letters," Emma began, exchanging a meaningful glance with her sister. "We've been thinking about it, and we want to write back." Tyler nodded, unsurprised by the topic. Over the past 5 years, Vanessa had sent occasional letters and cards, which Tyler had stored in a special box after consulting with Dr. Feldman. On the twins' 8th birthday, he had carefully explained Vanessa's continued sobriety and her wish to acknowledge their milestones from a distance. When they turned 9, the girls had asked to read the letters themselves, a request Tyler had honored with appropriate context and support. "Are you both sure?" he asked, looking between them. "There's no rush to decide this." "We're sure," Emma confirmed, her decisive nature evident. "We talked about it a lot." Lily nodded. "We don't want to visit or anything," she clarified softly. "Just letters for now." "She's been sending things for 5 years," Emma continued pragmatically, "and she always remembers our birthday and Christmas. She's really trying." Tyler felt a surge of pride at their maturity. "I think writing back shows compassion and strength," he said, "but I want you both to know that whatever relationship you decide to have or not have with Vanessa doesn't change our family. You're my daughters, period." "We know, Dad," Lily said, with the quiet confidence she had developed. "That's why we're okay with writing to her, because we're secure here." "Exactly," Emma agreed. "Dr. Feldman says acknowledging our past doesn't threaten our present." Tyler smiled at the therapist's words coming from his daughter's mouth. Their monthly family sessions had evolved over the years from crisis management to healthy communication, tools becoming a valuable space for processing complex emotions. "I'll help you with the letters whenever you're ready," he offered. No pressure on timing. The conversation shifted to homework and dinner plans, but Tyler remained thoughtful about the milestone this represented. The twins had moved from fear of abandonment to such security that they could extend compassion to the woman who had caused their early trauma. Later that evening, after the girls were in bed, Tyler found himself looking through old photos on his phone. Images of 2 solemn 5-year-olds on their first day in Portland, their first Christmas together, kindergarten graduation, beach trips and hiking adventures. Birthday celebrations and ordinary moments made extraordinary by the family they had become. He paused on a recent photo taken at the twins' school presentation night. Emma stood proudly beside her science project on renewable energy, while Lily held a certificate for her short story collection. Between them stood Tyler, no longer the shell-shocked new father, but a man who had grown into the role that had once terrified him. The journey hadn't been without challenges. There had been difficult questions about their origins as the twins grew old enough to fully understand the circumstances that had brought them together. There had been moments of regression during times of stress, when old fears would resurface unexpectedly. There had been the everyday challenges of parenting, homework struggles, friendship dramas, the occasional spectacular meltdown. But through it all, the foundation they had built remained solid. The Mason family had been forged through choice, rather than chance, strengthened by every obstacle overcome together. Tyler's phone chimed with a text message from Diana Taylor, who had remained a close friend and advisor through the years, eventually becoming something more. They had been dating for nearly 2 years now, taking things slowly out of respect for the girl's need for stability. Court date confirmed for next month. All paperwork in order. Zach is thrilled. Tyler smiled at the update. Diana's son Zach, now 12, had faced challenges related to his developmental delays throughout elementary school. Tyler had gradually stepped into a mentoring role, helping with homework and coaching his baseball team. When Diana timidly suggested that Tyler consider adopting Zach after they married next spring, it had felt like the natural evolution of their blended family. The circle was completing itself in ways Tyler could never have imagined when he first opened that life-changing email. From a reluctant single father to head of an expanding family, from a man who valued independence above all to one who found his greatest joy in connection. As he prepared for bed, Tyler paused at the twins' doors, listening to their soft breathing. They still kept their elephant companions, Emma's Ellie now missing an ear, and much of her original stuffing, Lily's Tyler elephant equally well-loved and worn. The blessing that had arrived disguised as an impossible choice had revealed itself, not as a single moment of transformation, but as a continuing journey of growth and discovery. For Emma and Lily, it had meant finding security and belonging after a chaotic beginning. For Tyler, it had meant discovering capacities for love and sacrifice he hadn't known he possessed. None of them were the same people who had nervously met in a Tennessee foster home 5 years ago. They had shaped each other, healed each other, challenged each other to become more than they might have been alone. Family, not an accident of birth, but a daily choice to love, to forgive, to show up again and again. The greatest blessing of all. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.